If I needed help, the first person I would go to would be Jon Utley.
But he's one of the most gentle, generous men I've ever met.
Jon is fearless.
He's one of the bravest people that I know in Washington.
Jon is America.
I first met him. He said, "Oh, you're 28 years old." He said, "That was the age that I was when I crashed my first plane over Bogota." So beyond what I've accomplished at my own age.
The energy of a teenager, the intellect of a college professor, and the collegiality of a brother. And I think that is so important to Jon's effectiveness.
I've seen him get up at meetings time and time again with people who would never agree with him, people who are just diametrically opposed to what he has to say on war and the military-industrial complex and civil liberties, and he'll get up there and he speaks truth to power, and the room is very polite, but as he told me one time that he'd walk back down the aisle and he could feel people giving him the middle finger at his back, and he's just like, I don't care. And I think that that's garnered him a ton of respect in this town.
He is consistently for liberty when that meant opposing Soviet imperialism, and for liberty when that meant opposing excesses in American militarism.
He wants to do good because he's seen the bad.
Jon was born in the Soviet Union during the Cold War. His mother had gone there as a journalist who was attracted to communism.
His mother, Frida Utley, was lauded as a communist intellectual. But when she and her husband got back to Moscow, she became increasingly disenchanted with the party.
When Jon was about 2 years old, living in Russia, his mother got a knock on the door. The Soviet police came for Jon's father.
And Jon was 2 years old when Stalin sent his henchmen to take Jon's father, and he was put in a camp. He went on led a hunger strike, and they killed him.
Not just exiled, but executed.
But his mother got him out, and she became a great anti-communist writer and taught him a great deal, and he followed in her footsteps and has, as a result, really earned, I think, his stripes as a freedom fighter.
But she got him to the United States, where she settled here in the Washington, D.C. area and had a sort of a rotating cast of intellectual leaders, scholars, poets, authors coming in and out of the house. She didn't have a lot of money, but she had friends.
She was always ready to give a party, ready to bring people together. There I was with my folks who were anti-communists, as was Frida Utley, and I noticed over in the corner, a young man about my age, and I sort of drifted over there and introduced myself, and he said, "Well, my name is Jon, and I'm the son of Frida." And I said, "Wow, that must be quite a challenge."
Because of many people like Jon Utley and his mother and others, the cause of freedom prevailed.
I think probably Jon's greatest achievement is standing up for the truth as he sees it, regardless of what others say. And that's such a marvelous example for the rest of us.
It's hard to even describe the atmosphere of Washington in the early to late 2000s after 9/11. Anyone who had questioned the Patriot Act and the new authorities that the federal government had been given in the wake of 9/11 in terms of arresting people, spying on Americans, anybody who questioned that had been sort of cast out. Here was Jon and his small band, but very vocal band of conservatives who were saying, this war is unjust.
He was almost by himself out there early on, speaking every chance he got to conservative groups, conservative leaders, and it was not popular to do that.
All of the wise men of the conservative movement said, we should be there. And Jon said, well, why are we there? And he would sit down, and there'd be sort of silence. And they would go on to the next topic.
Be the only person to stand up and say the Iraq War made no sense, and everybody else is saluting and, USA, USA, and Jon is saying, hey, this is not, this makes no sense.
But after the luncheon was over, people would come up to him and say, Jon, keep saying that. Keep asking those questions. I haven't got enough guts to do it, but you have. When no weapons were discovered and everybody else was sort of a little bit shamefaced and a little bit embarrassed about it, Jon didn't go around saying, I was right, I told you so. But there was I should say, a smile of quiet satisfaction. Let's put it that way. Well, Jon, you did it again. You spoke up when other people were timid, and for that, we owe you, conservatives owe you, a really significant debt of gratitude.
The vast majority of those people would recognize that Jon Utley has been right from the beginning.
It's always a delight at any meeting when he gets up, because you know he's going to remind us of first principles, of the danger of our own government getting out of control.
At the highest levels of intellectual thought, leadership in the conservative movement, he is clearly one of the leaders and most highly regarded members.
Jon is somebody that operates under the radar, and he's an unsung hero of the conservative movement, providing leadership and guidance and direction far before many of us see the truth as Jon sees it.
He doesn't have all of the entrapments of the Washington elite. He is among the elite, but he's used that all for this cause of freedom.
I think it's just so important that the rising generation of young people, the future leaders, hear from people like Jon Utley and others who have this wealth of experience they can share with them that will better prepare them for leadership in the future.
If you appeal to like 50 really smart college students who go on to say, I want to make my career in journalism, and I really admire these writers in the American Conservative, even if they don't write for the American Conservative, you've really accomplished something.
Jon is really the heart and soul of the American Conservative. He never leaves his house, literally any day of the week, without a stack of at least 20 to 30 copies of the American Conservative. I'm pretty sure he passes them out to people on the street.
He's constantly going to Peru. He's constantly flying across the country to go to conservative and libertarian conferences, usually with many copies of the magazine in tow. So we're very appreciative of Jon's one-man personal contribution to our circulation nationally and internationally. He's an international man of mystery.
The American Conservative, and with Jon Utley's leadership, it has continued to be a strong voice for a reasonable foreign policy, for an understanding that foreign entanglements can end up costing Americans their liberty.
He was just always promoting it. You never see Jon almost without a copy of the American Conservative, a subscription card. He was always promoting it, and he just, it was his love.
He injects his spirit in the magazine. If he didn't, there would be no American Conservative today.
Jon, thank you for your support. Thank you for being there at a time where very few other people were there. And the American Conservative owes you a debt of gratitude, and the country owes you a lot of gratitude as well.
Thank you for your leadership and your contributions all these years. And I can't put it all into one simple statement, so I'll just add, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
I hope you live forever.
Jon, I love you.
I just wish we had 1,000 more Jon Utleys. You've made a difference in many realms, but you certainly did in keeping this magazine alive and growing it.
Jon, I'm convinced as I am sitting here that our best days are in front of us. So congratulations, it's a great honor, and I'm so proud to call you my friend. Have a wonderful next 40 years, as I expect to do.